Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Chandra Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Chandra Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Chandra Bhalava Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So reading today from the Srimad-bhagavatam, 9th Canto, chapter 20, verses 17 through 21. A few of them don't have purports or short purports. So this is verse 17. We can chant this one together. Amoga virya rajarshir Mahisham viryam adate Svabhute swapuranyatta Kalena Sutta Sasutam Amoka Virya Rajashir Mahisham Viryam Adade Svabhute Swapurang Yata Kalena Sutta Sasutam Amoka Virya Rajashir Mahishnang Viryam Adade Svabhute Swaparam Yatta Kalena Sutta Sasutam Amoga Virya Rajashir Mahisham Viryam Adade Svabhute Swaparam Yatta Kalena Sutta Sasutam Amoga Virya Rajashir Mahisham Viryam Adade Svabhute Swaparam Yatta Kalena Sutta Sasutam Moga Virya Rajashir Mahisham Viryam Adade Svabhute Swaparam Yatta Kalena Sutta Sasutam Moga Virya Rajashir Mahisham Viryam Adade Nasita Sasutam. Anyone else? Let me check one thing. I didn't check before. Set this straight in the beginning, online nobody will hear anything. Okay, word for word synonyms. Amoga Viryaha, A person who discharges semen without being baffled, or in other words, who must beget a child. Raja Rishi, the saintly king Dushmanta, Mahisham, into the queen Shakuntala. After her marriage, Shakuntala became the queen. Viryam, semen. Adade, place. Svabhute, in the morning. Swapuram, to his own place. Yataha, return. Kalena, in due course of time. Ashutta, gave birth. Sa, she, Shakutala. Sutam, to a son. Translation: King Dushmanta, who never discharged semen without a result, placed his semen at night in the womb of his queen Shakuntala, and in the morning he returned to his palace. Thereafter, in due course of time, Shakuntala gave birth to a son. Repeat after me. King Dushmanta, who never discharged semen without a result, placed his semen at night in the womb of his queen Shakuntala, and in the morning he returned to his palace. Thereafter, in due course of time, Shakuntala gave birth to a son. So, no purport, so we'll read the next verse. In the forest, Kanva Muni performed all the ritualistic ceremonies concerning the newborn child. Later, the boy became so powerful that he would capture a lion and play with it. Shakuntala, the best of beautiful women, along with her son, whose strength was insurmountable and who was a partial expansion of the Supreme Godhead, approached her husband, Dushmanta. When the king refused to accept his wife and son, who were both irreproachable, an unembodied voice spoke from the sky as an omen and was heard by everyone present. Short purport by Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj Dushmanta knew that Shakuntala and the boy were his own wife and son, but because they came from outside and were unknown to the citizens, he at first declined to accept them. Shakuntala, however, was so chaste that an omen from the sky declared the truth so that others could hear. When everyone heard from the omen that Shakuntala and her child were truly the king's wife and son, the king gladly accepted them. And I'll go on to the next verse also. The voice said, "O Maharaj Dushmanta, a son actually belongs to his father, whereas the mother is only a container, like the skin of a bellows. According to the Vedic injunctions, the father is born as the son. Therefore, maintain your son and do not insult Shakuntala." Srila Prabhupada's purport. According to the Vedic injunction, Atma Vai Putra Namasi, the father becomes the son. The mother is simply like a storekeeper because the seed of the child is placed in her womb. But it is the father who is responsible for maintaining the son. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that he is the seed-giving father of all living entities. Aham bija prada pita. And therefore, he is responsible for maintaining them. This is also confirmed in the Vedas. Eko bahunam yo vidadati kaman. Although God is one, he maintains all living entities with their necessities for life. The living entities in different forms are sons of the Lord, and therefore the Father, the Supreme Lord, supplies them food according to their different bodies. The small ant is supplied a grain of sugar, and the elephant is supplied tons of food. But everyone is able to eat. Therefore, there is no question of overpopulation, because the Father, Krishna, is fully opulent. There is no scarcity of food. And because there is no scarcity, the propaganda of overpopulation is only a myth. Actually, one suffers for want of food when material nature, under the order of the Father, refuses to supply him food. It is the living entity's position that determines whether food will be supplied or not. When a diseased person is forbidden to eat, this does not mean that there is scarcity of food. Rather, the diseased person requires the treatment of not being supplied the food. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse 10, the Lord also says, Bijan man sarva bhutanam. I am the seed of all living entities. A particular type of seed is sown within the earth, and then a particular type of tree or plant comes out. The mother resembles the earth, and when a particular type of seed is sown by the father, a particular type of body takes birth. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnana Salakaya Sakshurun Militam Hina Tasmai Shri Guru. So, Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnana Salakaya Sakshurun Militam Hina Tasmai Shri Guru. So, mostly in his purport, Srila Prabhupada is emphasizing Krishna is the seed-giving father, and he can supply anything. He can supply. So people talk about, the starving people in Africa, and different places in the world. People are starving to death because there's not enough food available for them. But it's not true. It's actually mismanagement in reality. Mismanagement of the governments for various reasons. But there was a time, in terms of historically, in times of the Srimad-bhagavatam, when actually the earth was not producing food. This was in, I guess it was Satya Yuga, time of King Kritu. King Kritu was there. Or before King Kritu. Before King Kritu was his father, Venu. And Venu was a very bad king. He was a bad king. He ordered, because the king is said to be, it's called Raja, the word that he used there was Naradev. The king was one of the words that describe, Sanskrit words that describe the king, at least in Vedic times, was Naradev. Naradev means like a man god, or man or God in human form. And in the sense of administration, the king was like that. He was considered just like we have a spiritual master who's our spiritual guide. So the Vedic civilization, the king was considered to be representative of God. King can do no wrong. That was the principle. But this particular king is he was thinking, okay, he wasn't just thinking I'm a representative of God. He's thinking I'm as good as God. Actually, I am God. So all sacrifices that are performed in the world, if you're performing for Vishnu, all those sacrifices are supposed to go to me directly, because I'm just like God. So he missed the point, and he ordered the brahmanas who were performing all these sacrifices. This is like the whole planet. It means this planet was the Bhumandal, everything was there. It was all these sacrifices that they were normally performing, which was, of course, bringing about so much opulence. They were not allowed to perform it. He cut out he cut out sacrifice to Vishnu, but he said the sacrifices were supposed to go to him personally, which was not right. And because he did that, then the earth responded. Srila Prabhupada was mentioning here, the earth responded by not producing food. It means you could plant seeds, but nothing would grow. Can you imagine? At this time in history, there's still food growing, but at that particular time, under that particular circumstance, you could not grow any food, or food grains it was referring to. So because you cannot produce any food grains, of course, the people they're hungry, they're starving. Srila says you can't create, or you cannot grow, how do you say it? You can grow food, but you cannot eat like nuts and bolts. You can manufacture those kind of things, but you cannot create food except by growing it. So people were very, a lot of distress. And this was actually a very pious time. But because all sacrifice had stopped, then everything just became very poor. And so the brahmanas, the pious brahmanas, who wanted to perform sacrifice, and they knew they had to perform sacrifice for the benefit of everyone. They pleaded with this king, Venu, please, you change your position here. You're hurting all the people and all the living entities in this whole world because of your bad activities. But of course, he was not willing to change. He was just a bad person. So ultimately they cursed him by their strong words, which means a curse. They killed him. Just finished. But then they were without a king. And after Venu died, he had no son that mentioned there. So he was gone, and there was no one else there to take over as a king, right? But the mother of King Venu, when he died, she, for some reason, she chose to preserve his body. She put it in, in oil, covered his whole body with some kind of a fragrant oil, and the body was preserved in that way. So at one point, the Brahmanas, knowing that King Vena, although he was a very bad king, but his whole line of previous ancestors had been very good. And somehow, because of he had his mother, I don't remember exactly, his mother, I think, was daughter of death personified or something like that. So that's why he ended up being becoming a bad person. But in any case, the Brahmanas had to do something for the welfare of the people. So they took the body of the dead body of this King Vena, and they did two things. First, I don't know. I can't explain the process because the details are not given. But somehow or other, from that body, first of all, they extracted all the sinful part of it, all the sinful reactions and all that was in that body. They actually were able to extract that, and it took the form of a small person who was basically just sinful, like a sinful life personified. And then what was left was there was something good in there too, within his body. So then from churning, they churned his arms. I don't know how to churn an arm, but that was the description. They churned his arms in some way. They knew the process, and from that they were actually able to extract all the good from him, and it took the form of King Prithu and his wife, Queen Archie. These are things that are beyond our knowledge that we have, but that's how it was done. So of course, and then King Prithu was a partial incarnation of the Lord, and it means you say an empowered incarnation, Shaktivesh avatar, and his wife was a Shaktivesh avatar or something like that of the goddess of fortune. Yeah. So, and then with King Prithu, he immediately he immediately saw the situation, and he did the needful to fix the problem. He demanded the earth, you must provide food for the citizens. You cannot withhold. And and she was not very happy to do that because sacrifice was not being performed. So she told him, here's how the sacrifice needs to be performed, and then I will of course provide everything. I must also follow the laws, the Vedic laws. So he made the proper arrangements, provided her with everything that was necessary, and and the earth started producing so much opulence. So of course today you think, why are we there's so much sinful activity going on in the world? Why is there even food growing today? But of course, there's also Sankirtan movement going on, and also previously there were so much devotional service done by certain personalities, and we still get some results from it. Sometimes people think we talk about giving up. We should give up these certain activities of eating meat and different sinful activities. We should give these things up, and if we don't, then it's cause of so much suffering. So then they may say, well, see, I'm doing all these different activities like this, all these sinful activities, you say, and I'm actually very wealthy, and I have so many good things in life. So someone might argue like that, and they say why? And the answer why is because they're getting some results from their own previous some kind of pious activities. So they're still enjoying the results, but in the future, next lifetime, that will all change if they don't change their position. Like Srila Prabhupada said that if someone is born in a very, say, wealthy condition, or somehow or other they without much endeavor they become, get a lot of material opulence, then he says that it's actually a result generally of past. He said past devotional activities. So someone, and which in a sense means like past devotional activities. So if we are so say just like Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna asked Lord Krishna about the yogi. I mentioned this the other day. He asked about the yogi, who the yogi is he's practicing yoga, but what if he gives up the practice of yoga long before the end of his life? So what happens to him? Is he just like a cloud that just dissipates in the sky, or is there something else? And Lord Krishna said, what happens to the yogi? Says after if he's practiced yoga but gave it up after a short amount of practice, then he may go to the heavenly planets, because he probably gave up for some material, desire for material enjoyment. So he can go to the heavenly planets, or he may take birth in a rich aristocratic family and be in a situation where at least he has no struggle for existence. He actually has the opportunity to put some energy into thinking about some higher knowledge. Unfortunately, a lot of people who have lots of money and have probably gotten it because of that, if they don't understand why they've got it, they think that I've become very rich, very powerful because I'm a very intelligent, strong person, and therefore these things I've been able to do all this on my own like this. But it's not really like that. They're actually getting that because of some past activity, which was actually intended for them to be able to live a comfortable life, so they can concentrate on spiritual life. This is the real point of it. And of course, if people have all kinds of wealth and power and opulence like that, and they completely misuse it, then they'll get the reactions for that too. If you're very rich in one lifetime, you completely exploit it, become miserly and so many things. Then your next birth, may be very poor. So then you start thinking, oh, God, help me. You're rich. You think that God does not. I don't need God. I am God. It's good at it. But then you become very poor, and then you start thinking, oh, I better, God help me. I can't. Otherwise, how can I survive? So these things, this is the law of karma. The law of karma is there for us to help us to become gradually purified and become Krishna conscious. So, and we see, just like here we are practicing Krishna consciousness, and I've been in the movement for a few years. I've never seen a time that in a temple there was the devotees are starving. Usually it's like what to do with all the prasadam. It's too much sometimes. So there's never been I've never seen a time, even in the early days when we had nothing, still that somehow or other everyone was eating very nicely, because Krishna is providing everything that we need because we're engaged in his devotional service. And the world, of course, is continuing to get so much benefit because of the Sankirtan movement, because there's devotional service going on in every temple and in so many homes. For those who are practicing at home, the devotees who go out and chanting the holy names in the streets, or even privately, on the beach. All this counts as devotional service, which is good for the whole world. At the time of the 5,000 years ago, in the Naimisharanya forest, the sages say they were in Naimisharanya forest specifically because Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport that particular place on earth is considered like the hub of the universe, with the center like that. And their idea was, we'll perform this sacrifice here. Sacrifice was a big Srimad-bhagavatam class intended for 1,000 years. I don't know if they completed it or not, but that was a sacrifice, hearing and chanting of Srimad-bhagavatam. And they did that there because they knew that it would benefit everyone in the whole universe. So that sacrifice that in Naimisharanya forest, was actually not just for the planet Earth, but was also for the higher planets and the lower planets. The entire universe was being benefited by that sacrifice. And of course, our other name here for ISKCON Miami is New Naimisharanya. We got that name, or it was introduced at the time that Srila Prabhupada visited the Miami temple. I know somebody suggested it to Srila Prabhupada, or Srila Prabhupada said it himself. I wasn't with him at that particular moment, but that was where the idea came from, because we had Srila Prabhupada was sitting out under the banyan trees. We were at banyan trees at that location. 3 big banyan trees, and Srila Prabhupada gave the Bhagavad Gita classes at night for a few nights. And somehow there was some conversation between the leaders of the temple and Srila Prabhupada, and it came up about Naimisharanya. So since that time we've had that name, and the kind of the mood was, and this was that our temple, one of the things that our temple could and should really concentrate on is of course having the regular classes, morning classes, evening classes, hearing and chanting about the knowledge in these Vedic books, the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad-bhagavatam, Nectar Devotion, all the other books. This is something that we can do and should do. If we manage to do the Srimad-bhagavatam class in the morning, Bhagavad Gita class most of the time, like that. But this is the mood, and even by these regular Srimad-bhagavatam classes and Bhagavad Gita classes when we have them, which is most of the time now, the people all around us, this is the city, the Coconut Grove, and as far as it goes out, are getting that benefit. They're getting benefit. We don't. We may not be able to receive that, but we know from Vedic literatures they're getting because of the devotional service being done here. Then everyone around us is getting certain. It's called Agyata Sukriti. It's Agyata Sukriti, which means pious activities done without knowing that you're doing them. Agyata, without knowing. So pious activities being done, and there are three kinds of pious activities mentioned. There's I don't remember the Sanskrit words for them all, but yeah, there's a pious activity, which is activities which are favorable for you, for those who want to ultimately merge in the Brahma Jyoti, like that. There's pious activities that will help you towards that. That's not what we want. There's pious activities that will help one to elevate themselves specifically to the heavenly planets or getting some kind of material benefit. That's another kind of pious activity. And there's a special devotional type of pious activities that will help us to become Krishna conscious specifically. So that's what we're interested in, and that's the kind of pious benefits that everyone else around, including us plus everyone else around, will get because of the devotional service that's being performed here, and of course anyone who's practicing devotional service at home is also that benefit is going out. So in that way, the Sankirtan movement will go on and increase more and more for. It's a 10,000 year program, so it should be increasing for maybe half that time, and then it'll gradually decrease until after 10,000 years, there won't be much of anything, and then Kali Yuga will become very bad after the Sankirtan movement ends. I mean, they say. Why does the Sankirtan movement have to? Well, why does it have to end when it does? I can't really answer that, but I know that it has its purpose. I mean, Kali Yuga also has its purpose to give a chance for the people who want to be sinful without any restriction, and just like with the example was given like a rocket, which they don't do these days now. This technology's all changed, but before the example was a rocket has its launching pad. The rocket goes up. The launching pad is usually falls apart, like that. Now that of course the rockets go up and then come back down on their own. But that was the purpose of the launching pad. It was to get the rocket up when it's finished. Then when it's up, then the launching pad's not needed anymore. So the same way, there's a period, 10,000 year period, starting back when Lord Chaitanya appeared 500 some years ago, that this Sankirtan movement was predicted to increase like anything, and after that period, then of course it'll stop, and when Kali Yuga will take over to do what it's naturally going to do. And this is also just special within this age, in this particular Kali Yuga, because it's only once every 1,000 Kali Yugas that Lord Chaitanya comes. And so that's the previous Kali Yugas. I guess Kali Yugas have had all the way through, apparently. This is very special this time. If we come back another Kali Yuga, we may not. I don't know what will happen because it'll probably, in the previous next time, then Lord Chaitanya will not have appeared, and we don't know what will happen, because it's become degraded without any restriction. Anyway, there's a couple points on these verse and purport. Any questions, comments? Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Those who are engaged in devotional service don't need to be. Well, the suffering for as far as the degradation of Kali Yuga. We don't. Those who are practicing devotional service strictly will not be degraded by Kali Yuga.
No, I'm talking about the general public, people, those people who are
I'm not so much out there directly involved in that preaching. Well, there's two things happen. They're experiencing the Kali Yuga more and more, and so when they're suffering more, then yes, there are wealthy people that will also realize. They hear about Krishna consciousness and say, yes, this is actually very good. So I don't know if I can't. It's hard to answer exactly the question because I'm not directly, out talking to the people in general so much in terms of preaching. But I can only make general statement that when Kali Yuga gets worse, even the rich people will feel more and more strain and difficulty, and of course they'll be looking for something higher. If they're fortunate, they'll be looking for some higher knowledge. That's for sure. Yes. Kali Yuga, 432,000 years. Yes. 10,000 years. Yes. After his appearance, it was just about 500 some years ago. We're the beginning of we're just the beginning of Lord Chaitanya's. It's called the golden era, and it'll increase more and more, for sure. It'll increase a lot, and then gradually it'll decrease. But increasing means thousands of years in the future. This movement will spread a lot. Yeah, it's only 10,000 years, but it's like a special oasis, you say, in the desert of Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga is just from the beginning. It's just normally it would just become degraded and more degraded and more degraded, and worse until to the very end. But because of Lord Chaitanya's appearance and the Sankirtan movement, that we have this block of 10,000 years out of that 432,000 years, where there's a very good opportunity to increase your devotional service and actually get out of here, go back home, back to Godhead. Otherwise, in general, people will just become more and more degraded.
The Christianity, thousands.
Could be, but it'll definitely, I mean, but it'll increase, because Lord Chaitanya said every town and village, and there's a lot of towns and villages in the world. So, and the demigods and the higher planets, those who are, I know it was all the demigods, but Srila did mention the demigods, the heavenly planets, are looking for the opportunity to come and take part in the Sankirtan movement, because they could see it, they know of it, but they're a little distracted by a lot of material enjoyment, which is part of living in the heavenly planets, which is a little distracting because you want to become renounced from the sense gratification, and it's really difficult to do when it's just your whole life, your whole atmosphere is sense gratification is very available. but those fortunate inhabitants of the higher planets, they can understand what's going on here, and they're thinking, oh, I'm living so long here, but there you have a short life, but you can in that short lifetime you can become you can become Krishna conscious and go back to the spiritual world. So they see like that, and probably some demigods, some inhabitants from the higher planets, they take birth here, and maybe we have some former demigods who are part of the our ISKCON devotees, the children, the grandchildren of the devotees. Maybe that's where they're coming from. We don't know, but I know they're desiring that.
Only if they can get make it about that.
Yes, you gotta be serious, and you won't remember where you came from in the previous lifetime. So there's always that opportunity to either accept or reject it, the path of Krishna consciousness. Do today, because we are practicing Krishna consciousness now. We're practicing Krishna consciousness now, and we have the philosophy, we have the classes, we have the association of devotees, and if we say, oh, I won't be serious this time, but I have some push-ups, the next time I'll be born in the family of devotees, and I'll become Krishna conscious for sure. Well, we don't really know. We don't know where we'll go, or for sure. We don't know what our next lifetime would be. So better, while we know that here I am, I can chant Hare Krishna, I have the association of devotees. Kali Yuga is not as bad as it will be in the future, and especially if you go to the heavenly, thing. Oh, let me go to the heavenly planets. I'll enjoy there, and then I'll become serious. Well, having heavenly planets being lifespan is at least 10,000 years, our time. So at the end of your enjoyment in the heavenly planets, you come back here to this planet. Sankirtan movement is finished, and then what are you going to do? Hiding in a cave somewhere, hiding from the demonic population that just wants to come and eat you. Yes. You hope that ISKCON will what? Yes. Yes. I believe so. It's kind of Srila Prabhupada's organization, and obviously Srila Prabhupada was very empowered to spread this movement everywhere. So, yes. can't see the clock from here, but we're probably over time. Oh. So I think we'll end here for today. Tomorrow is Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's appearance day, right? For sure in the evening we have a program for the Pushpanjali ceremony and we'll puja and we'll speak something. Someone will speak something about Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. And in the morning maybe we'll speak about Srila Bhaktisiddhanta too. Okay? Srila Prabhupada ki jai.